All right, it's time for another Anvil top review. This is kind of a fun one because I'm reviewing an anvil on top of my anvil. So this right here is the Forge. I believe it's a 15-pound anvil. Central Forge is the brand. This came from Harbor Freight, a store that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. They tend to sell, I'll say it, they sell cheap tools. Some more cheaply made than others, some quite functional. This, I believe, cost me $15, so it was about $1 per pound for this anvil. And I'll tell you what it's not, and I'll tell you what it is, and I'll tell you why, to me, this gets 5 stars. Number one, this is not a professional anvil. So if you are a professional blacksmith or you make jewelry, you make knives, you whatever, this is probably not going to be your first choice. This anvil, I don't have any idea how a person could possibly get more value for the dollar they put in. I think this is an excellent anvil for a starter, for somebody like me just starting out. I mean, I had almost no knowledge even of the techniques I would use to forge. So I got a slab of metal that I could anchor down and go to work and teach myself some stuff, watch some videos, read some blogs, learn as much as I could. I could have gone out and possibly bought a piece of metal that was similar in weight and might have been similar in overall function for, maybe I could have gotten it for $15. I mean, paying $1 a pound, which is what I basically did. I think this is 15 pounds. Might be a little lighter than that. Anyway, basically paying $1 a pound, that's hard to do. I mean, that's just hard to do if you want any piece of steel. $1 a pound is hard to do. This one, of course, is already shaped like an anvil. And you can actually, you can see that the horn, this is one of the, my criticisms might be that the horn is abbreviated here. I don't know if they cut that off for shipping purposes. It actually kind of looks like it was molded that way, and maybe that's to make it easier to ship. If it's in a certain box better, I don't know. But it'd be really nice if that horn, really, came out. That would be one criticism I have. So maybe we'll call it 4.5 stars. Just kidding. This is a 5-star item. There's a tiny little hardy hole here. I don't know if that's a common size. I don't know enough about hardy tools to know. I found that I could make hardy tools that would fit. And I'll grab one of those so you can see. This guy right here is an example. Since I didn't have a horn, I just needed something that I could drop into the hardy hole and get a little bit tighter. If I was trying to get a tight corner, a curve into something, I could use this to do that. Although I get that out of there. There are other techniques too that I learned as I went along. So the horn isn't great. I'll say that the horn isn't great. Durability. I mean, you can see from the surface, I am a beginner, and I hit the surface of this thing almost non-stop. I mean, I dinged it up, marked it up all over the place. I've done very little in terms of cleaning that up. I don't know that I've ever taken a grinder to it or anything. I may have, but it's actually held up remarkably well. It jumps around a lot, even anchored to a fairly sturdy, not a great base, but a fairly sturdy base. Yeah, it jumped around a lot. I could have anchored this better than I did. I could have gotten a big stump under it and nailed it into place and maybe hung chains around it, and you do those kinds of things to dampen the vibrations and make sure it isn't jumping around and that there isn't any give when you're hitting it. And it would probably that would probably add some functionality to it anyway. But to prove that this has been as good an anvil as I'm claiming, I'm just going to show a couple of things that I made with it. This was one of my first projects was making a set of tongs. And to do that, I used this anvil right here. And also, I'm going to show you the hammer I used. This does not get 5 stars. This is a hammer that I bought also from Harbor Freight. And the wood handle broke after about 3 days of use. And then I sort of repaired it and it broke after about another week. So I got rid of all that and I just, kind of welded the crap out of it to a piece of, I think that's 5/8 inch rebar. This is, I'll tell you right now, this is not the best setup for a smithing hammer, but it is the one that I have been using. That's not the only hammer I've been using. I'll pull in another. Here's a ball peen that I have found quite useful. And even just a regular claw hammer, like a carpenter's hammer, which I don't have within reach at the moment, so we'll skip that. But you can use, there's a lot of different, I've seen somebody with a video where they used a rock to do their forging. They used a rock as a slab to forge on, and then they used a rock as a hammer. So you can use just about anything that's heavy and hard. So that's one thing that I forged on it, very useful tool. Another thing that I forged, this one I would say especially proud of. I just like the way that turned out. I love that, kind of the look of that blade on that little, it's a very simple project, and I actually have a video, I'll probably link to that one, where I show how to make one of these. And there again, I think you got 5/8 rebar. So this is the anvil that I used for that one. And what else do we have? Another iteration, kind of the same concept. This was with, unfortunately, this was with 1/2 inch, I think, not 5/8. I might be mistaken, but anyway. So another one of those rebar hatchets, and I had a really great, fun knife that had like a curl and a twist in it and all kinds of stuff. I don't know what I did with that one, but this I also forged on that little anvil. So I don't know exactly what to call it. It's kind of a, it's almost like a straight razor meets a meat cleaver. I don't know what to call this thing. That was one of the first knives that I ever forged. So those are just some examples of things that I made on this. Again, I want to say about $15. It's right in that range at Harbor Freight. And for that price, and this is why it's 5 stars to me, to be able to spend the equivalent of a case of beer on a fully functional anvil that will stand up to, 2 months, maybe 3 months of abuse and still be in perfectly decent shape. I could continue forging on this no problem, It didn't crack, it didn't, the edges, sometimes people will complain, well, the edges are going to crack and, bust out of there and whatever. I didn't even know enough, when I bought this, I didn't even know enough to properly dress the corners of the anvil and stuff. So for it to have stood up this well, I'm just really impressed, really proud of this. Now, with that said, there are some other purchases I've made at Harbor Freight that I just basically threw my money away. I'm not going to cover those in this review, but I do want to say some of their products are absolutely excellent, and especially absolutely excellent for the money. One question I have, and maybe one of you can answer this question for me, if anybody has used this style of anvil for years. I've seen a couple of them in other videos online, so I know some people are using them. Have you used from this brand or from Harbor Freight? Have you used an anvil like this for years, and did it stand up to that to constant use over a period of years? Because I know nothing about the metal in this. I know nothing about the construction process. I can say that it looks like it was cast because I can see the marks from the mold. But I just don't know. I don't know about the longevity of something like this. So looking at it, I guess I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't stand up to a lot of abuse over a long period of time. Especially considering that I'm a beginner and I probably hit the anvil more times than I hit the work pieces. So if you have any knowledge of it or any other comments you want to make, by all means, make those comments. And if you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. I guess that's it for now. If you like reviews, leave a comment and I'll do more reviews. I've only got a couple of them so far, but I've been learning kind of what works and what doesn't, and what tools I like and what tools I don't, and what tools I think are underpriced or overpriced, and so I may do some more reviews. All right, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day, morning, whatever time of day it is where you are, and we will see you in the next video.